Hey guys, I'm here with my client Todd. Todd and I have been working together, I think since December or January. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, been a few months now. Seems
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah, about 3 months or so. So Todd, thanks for getting on and joining me for this. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we're here to kind of celebrate a recent victory that Todd has had. You've made a sale for 3K, right? Which is that the most you've ever sold a package for?
Yeah, that's to date, that's probably the biggest package I've had, and it was an awesome experience. It just felt fluent. It just felt like, or the past, I've definitely had experiences where I just was kind of unorganized and caught up. I just felt like the process just as smooth as one could ask for.
Yeah, amazing. And you've done a great job at executing everything you've learned so far, and it's been a real pleasure. So thanks for kind of holding up your end and putting in the work. You're a pleasure to work with.
No, I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you for your knowledge, man. And I'm looking forward to continuing and improving, right? It's just like this is just like a stepping stone, a one in the positive direction. So I'm excited.
100%. And I mean, tell us a bit about what things were like in your business before we started working together. So prior to a few months ago when we started out, how were things looking for you and where were the gaps?
Business for me, the best way I could describe it. So I do my personal training and I run a martial arts school as well. So I guess the best way to describe it is just like overwhelming in the sense that I felt like I was juggling both. I felt I was doing like felt like I needed to do more when, and your words, right? And not verbatim, just kind of like trying to like look at what I already have. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to go over here. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to like go above and beyond, when little did I know that I had already so much going for me. And Mike definitely helped me like, hey, like don't pan out so far, like zero in on like what you already have going for yourself and look to build strength from there.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things I see the most, right? With coaches who are kind of struggling to grow their business. They're trying to chase all the shiny objects. They're trying to go really far afield and try all these new strategies, and they get overwhelmed with what they should be doing. But really, in most cases, especially if you've got some experience and you've got an existing network, you're kind of already sitting on a gold mine, right? There's a lot of people in your network, and there's a lot of things you already have that you've already built that you can use to your advantage, right? And that's an important first step when you want to grow, when you want to scale. Just look at how many people do I already have in my network who might become clients, or who might know people who could become clients, right? So yeah, it's great that we've been able to leverage that, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, if we fast forward to now, we just talked about your recent big sale, which is really exciting. In general, how are things looking in your business compared to a few months ago?
I It's amazing to me that I can say with confidence that I at least have two new leads every week, at least minimum, which is awesome. Like throughout the month, that's eight consistent like leads, and like I've got a new business like there. Like it's a really happy feeling because it's like I can definitely, I think all trainers can agree, like, what's next? Where am I going to find it? So now, like, I know where to go. And not only that, like, I'm becoming more aware of how I'm articulating, right? To like converse with people, really understand where they're coming from, really also like how to like convey my value. I think that's a thing that I've really learned. Like, hey, like I am very valuable here. And like, if I can really be more thoughtful in my speech, I can convey that thoroughly versus like sometimes I kind of get word salad or kind of get caught up with what to say. And then I stumble and then I potentially lose somebody that we potentially could have had a really good relationship all because I just wasn't as thoughtful as I could be about the process versus like now, like I feel very confident with just about anybody I interact with. And my business is just consistent as overall and it's just on an upward trajectory. I'm just like very, very thankful and just immensely happy. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, man. It's really cool to see the transformation. And Yeah, it just really pays to learn how to lay that foundation. So you don't have to wonder every week, where's my next client going to come from? Where's my next lead going to come from? And kind of just relying on people to come to you. It's good to have systems and strategies in place to be able to have a solid foundation and be able to deliberately and consistently generate leads and make sales without having to just kind of leave it up to chance, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
and
I
and
no leaving it here.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, and like you said, it's the main, would you say the main thing that you've learned is just how to improve your communication and how to improve the way that you communicate what you do and why you do it, and you know, in a way that the people that you're actually trying to help will understand and make them see how it could be valuable to them.
100%. That's probably the biggest thing that I've learned is just kind of, you don't really have to be fancy. And it's funny, right? I always tell students why I get so excited about very fundamental things. It's like you could revisit something fundamental 100 times and learn something new. So the same way with this is just being appreciative, like, hey, like you don't really need to be fancy in your speech, right? They're gonna learn when they sign up through your program how articulate you are, like how fancy you are, but it's like just kind of showing like at a base level, like, hey, I understand where you're coming from. I maybe potentially been in your shoes, right? I hear you, like, and I want to show you that I'm someone that can meet you where you're at and like be helpful versus like trying to like be fancy jargon. Like that's one thing I definitely learned because sometimes I I talk a little too much versus like, hey, like let's really like focus on what matters.
Yeah, 100%, right? And like you said, that they'll see what you're all about, and they'll learn about what you do once they become a client. But before they become a client, you've got to meet them where they're at. You got to realize what they're going through in their life and try to understand what they care about right now based on where they're at in their journey. And most people are at the starting line, right? Or most people haven't been really involved in this kind of training or this kind of work. So they don't know much about it. They don't necessarily understand it yet or care about it yet. They care about their problem and they care about their goal. So that's what you need to talk to them about, right?
Right.
So yeah, fantastic. So I mean, what would you say has been your favorite thing about the work we've been doing together?
My favorite thing about the process so far is I'm someone that I really like to, if I know I'm messing up, I really want to like know it, right? Same way if someone's training with me, right? Like they come to me like, yeah, if like there's something wrong, please tell me. So it's just refreshing during our like lessons where it's like, okay, like, right, you're a great teacher in the fact that like you'll say, hey, like I need you to improve this, but it doesn't come from like a harsh place. It's like, hey, like I want to see you be successful and not make easy mistakes, right?
Mm,
Easy
yeah.
mistakes could potentially like lose out on like business for myself. So like to really kind of like analyze what I improve and also like being that's like when as you say, yeah, I call it like mic bombs. I'm trying to think of like the word for it. That's like articulating things in a way where it's like, oh, that makes no sense. Like that's so
Yeah.
much. That's what I want to say, but I just didn't know how to say it. And then it
Mm,
just like completely it's turned things up and just makes things easier. Or if it comes to like content, like I always thought that's so difficult, and I'm improving in that regard where I can keep it more simple. It's a lot more right, like simple than it is. It's like having testimonies and just like conveying my message on like a simple level, and not having to have all the flash with it. Is just being authentic. Those are like a combination of the things. It's always something new, right? It's like refreshing, and that's what I love about the process most.
oh, that's great, man. And it really is quite liberating, right? When you realize that you just have to keep it simple and focus on what your audience actually, like I said before, what your audience actually cares about. Showing that you actually understand where they're at and showing that you care. And then you can talk about the rest later once you've got through that initial barrier, right? Because they don't know you yet, they don't trust you yet. So focusing on building that rapport, building that trust is that first step. And you're doing a great job of learning how to do that and refining those skills. So excellent job, man. I'm really proud. And, you know, it's great to see your journey. It's great to be part of it as well.
No, I appreciate it, Mike. Looking forward to continued progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one final thing, there's a lot of practitioners and coaches like yourself out there who um they they may be really skilled, really experienced, really knowledgeable at their craft, but they don't really have these systems in place to consistently and reliably generate leads and make sales. They don't really understand how to communicate what they do in a way that their audience really can understand and appreciate. So they may kind of recognize that they need help with this stuff, but they might not know who to trust. What would you say to guys like that?
Well, I would say I would definitely refer them your way, 100%. And I think what it comes down to, so I think what made sense for me is I'm a big martial arts person, right? And a big thing in martial arts is, right, if I don't know something, right, I'm happy to refer to another instructor, right? I know what my weaknesses are and I know what my strengths are. And for me to be like, when you first communicated with me, like, well, I'll figure it out by myself. Why would I do that when, right? As long as you display the value, like you display, you clearly know what's going on. It's like, wow, this makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, like this is something I need to work on, right? It's just kind of, I think I'd say those other coaches, like, don't be afraid of like, oh crap, I don't know this. That's okay. That's why you seek another professional, right? It's just help him, let him help you build you up when you're weaker. And you'll find that it's one of the better decisions you can make, because to not do that, right? It's like we always talk about, like, what's the cost of me not doing that, right? To go continue for frustration of like, why can't I keep my leads? What am I saying, right? Am I going to go around in the circles trying to figure out what to say? Like, where when I can like work with Mike, and then it's just like, hey, try it like this, right? It's just like, think about what you're saying here. Yeah, that makes sense. I really am not communicating effectively here. Like, wow, like, thank you so much. And
Mm.
then taking it this the same way, like we had to like build our skill sets, right? To learn the knowledge to work with the body through your speech. Because you could be as the greatest trainer around, but like if you can't effectively communicate, you always kind of be kind of shrouded in the background.
Yeah, because the foundation of your business is people, right? It always comes down to people, and if you're dealing with people, you got to know how to communicate, right? It's as simple as that. And
Right.
like you said, if you don't know how to handle your leads, if you don't know how to source leads, and if you don't know how to make sales, because you don't know how to connect with people, and you don't know how to do all these things, that's a lot of money being left on the table, right? And so in terms of a return on investment, if you could learn some skills, if you could invest in learning some skills that allow you to not leave that money on the table, and to turn those leads into clients, and to turn those audience members into leads consistently every week, then it's kind of a no-brainer, right?
No, that's how it personally felt for me. It felt like a no-brainer. It was clearly something I needed help with. Like Mike took the initiative to like reach out to me and like see if he could help me, and it just was a solid fit. And to anybody that's like on the fence about it, like you should definitely take advantage for yourself, because you're only hindering like really securing yourself as a professional, right? Like to drop communication is an absolute no-no. So to have that skill set be refined and understand that it's really not as difficult as you imagine, like you should definitely seek out Mike's help.
Oh, well, thanks so much, man. And once again, I really appreciate you getting on here. You're killing it, and it makes me really excited. It's a real pleasure to work with you, and I'm excited for what's ahead. I'm excited for what we can continue to achieve, and to work through the next steps together.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate you.
You too, man. Thank you so much for taking the time, and yeah, I'll see you again soon.
Absolutely, Mike.